Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, Text 18. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyati Udashinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasham. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyat Udashinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasham. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyat Udashinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyat Udasinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam.
Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyati Udasinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyati Udasinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyati Udasinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyati Udasinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam.
Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyati Udasinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam.
Mataji's
Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Paripashyati Udasinam Prakritim Cha Hatojasam.
Jnana, knowledge, Vairagya, renunciation, Yuktena, equipped with, Bhakti, devotional service, Yuktena, equipped with, Cha, and Atmana, by the mind, Paripashyati, one sees, Udasinam, indifferent, Prakritim, material existence, cha, and hato ojasham, reduced in strength. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In that position of self-realization, by practice of knowledge and renunciation in devotional service, one sees everything in the right perspective. He becomes indifferent to material existence, and the material influence acts less powerfully upon him. Please repeat after me. In that position of self-realization, by practice of knowledge and renunciation, in devotional service, one sees everything in the right perspective. He becomes indifferent to material existence, and the material influence acts less powerfully upon him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As the contamination of the germs of a particular disease can influence a weaker person, similarly the influence of material nature or illusory energy can act on the weaker or conditioned soul, but not on the liberated soul. Self-realization is the position of the liberated state. One understands his constitutional position by knowledge and vairagya, renunciation. Without knowledge, one cannot have realization. The realization that one is the infinitesimal part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit makes him unattached to material conditional life. That is the beginning of devotional service. Unless one is liberated from material contamination, one cannot engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. In this verse, therefore, it is stated, Jnana Vairagya Juktena. When one is in full knowledge of one's constitutional position and is in the renounced order of life, detached from material attraction, then by pure devotional service, Bhakti Juktena, he can engage himself as a loving servant of the Lord. Paripashyati means that he can see everything in its right perspective. Then the influence of material nature becomes almost nil. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. When one is self-realized, he becomes happy and free from the influence of material nature. And at that time, he is free from lamentation and hankering. The Lord states that position as a Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, the real state of beginning devotional service. Similarly, it is confirmed in the Narada Pancharatra that when the senses are purified, they can then be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. One who is attached to material contamination cannot be a devotee. Jnana Vairagya Juktena Bhakti Juktena Chatmana Paripashyat Tudashinam Prakritim Chahato Jasam. At that position of self-realization, by practice of knowledge and renunciation in devotional service, one sees everything in the right perspective. He becomes indifferent to material existence, and the material influence acts less powerfully upon him. So, Kapil Dev is instructing his mother. His mother asked how to become free from the attachment of the senses and the objects of the senses, which is very disgusting. She realized the actual state of material existence, and Kapil Dev is answering step by step. Kapil Dev, like yesterday's verse, the previous verse, he described how the living entity sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at that time the soul can see, he sees himself to be the transcendental to material existence and always self-effulgent, never fragmented, although very minute in size. And time again, he pointed out that that is possible only through the practice of devotional service. And in this verse, he is elaborating that point, that when one becomes engaged in devotional service, bhakti juktena and jnana vairagya juktena, then paripashyati udashinam. Then he sees everything from the right perspective. He sees everything in the right perspective. And at that time, prakritim cha hatojasam, hata ojasam. Prakriti, daivi hesha gunamai, mama maya durattaya. Prakriti is very powerful. Durattaya. It is Krishna's maya, daivi hesha gunamai. But here, it has been pointed out that this prakriti, which is very powerful, it becomes hata ojasam. Ojasa means strength, power. And hata means, hata can mean completely lost, completely defeated, killed, destroyed. Or it can also mean reduced. Prabhupada here used the expression reduced because the influence of the material nature is not totally gone when one is practicing devotional service. It remains to some extent, but it gradually diminishes. As one becomes engaged in devotional service, the influence of the material nature reduces. What is the influence of material nature? As Kapil Dev pointed out in one of the previous verses, the influence of the material nature is through the modes of material nature. Living entities are entangled in the material nature by the modes of material nature. When a living entity looks away from Krishna, then what happens? He comes under the influence of the three modes of material nature. And that three modes actually ties him down to this material nature. But when jnana vairagya juktena bhakti juktena, when one becomes engaged in devotional service, which is accompanied by jnana and vairagya, then he becomes free. Then he begins to become, the influence of the material nature begins to reduce upon him. So, Kapil Dev is very systematically taking us step by step to the point of pure devotional service. Now the question may arise that pure devotional service is jnana karmad anavritam. But here it is said jnana vairagya juktena. Why is that? That jnana and karma that has been described, that is a different type of jnana. That is the speculative knowledge. The speculative knowledge leads to liberation. And karma means fruitive activity, which leads to sense gratification. So usually a living entity is entangled in the material nature, karmic reaction, desire for action and reaction. A living entity acts in the material nature with a desire to enjoy this material nature, exploit this material nature. But when one becomes aware of the miserable situation of the material nature, then one wants to become liberated from the material nature. That is the jnana. One is karma and the other is jnana. But here Prabhupada made it clear that this jnana is the knowledge of one's spiritual identity and one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this knowledge is automatically connected to devotional service. In this respect, it has been described that Bhakti Devi, Bhakti has two sons. Bhakti Devi has two sons, and those two sons of Bhakti Devi are Jnana and Vairagya, knowledge and renunciation. So this is that knowledge. This knowledge automatically accompanies. This is not the speculative knowledge to try to become free from the bondage of material nature by dint of that knowledge. That is the speculative knowledge or jnana that leads to liberation. So Kapil Dev is then pointing out that he paripashyati. Paripashyati, Prabhupada has pointed out that this paripashyati, he sees. What does he see? Paripashyati, Prabhupada is elaborating that point, that he sees things from the right perspective. Now in the material nature, what we are seeing? We are seeing the reflection. In the material nature, through our senses, we are not seeing the reality, we are seeing the reflection. But when one becomes properly engaged in devotional service, then he receives the jnana, the transcendental knowledge, which is essential for realization. The actual perception of the reality. Realization means the actual perception of the reality. To see the reality as it is. So that knowledge automatically dawns in him. Automatically becomes manifest in him. He doesn't have to separately make an endeavor. Therefore Prabhupada used to say that we don't have to become pandits. Knowledge will automatically come, automatically be revealed. Dibbya Gyan, Hriday Prakashito. So this Gyan that we are talking about here, that Kapil Muni is talking about, is the Dibbya Gyan. And this Dibbya Gyan is Hriday Prakashito, is automatically revealed in the heart. Yes, knowledge is necessary, the studying of the scriptures is necessary. But ultimately the knowledge will appear as a realization in the heart. It will happen. Just like when we see the sun, what do we have to do? Do we have to see the sun through studying physics, light? Do we have to see the sun through the study of light, energy that is dealt with in physics? Or do we see sun just by opening our eyes? We open our eyes and we see the sun. A blind man, no matter how much he studies, will never be able to see the sun. But a man who has eyes, when he opens his eyes, he'll automatically see the sun. So this is the Dibbya Gyan or transcendental knowledge. As the spirit soul becomes free from the contamination of material nature, one will see the reality as it is. That's why Prabhupada is saying that he sees everything in the right perspective. He is not seeing the reflection in the mirror or reflection in the pool of water anymore. He is seeing the reality as it is. The other day I gave an example, you remember? You are very hungry, you walked into the room and you saw this wall is a full mirror, and you saw the reflection of all kinds of delicious prasad on that wall, on the mirror. Then what would be your natural reaction to that? When you are very hungry, you will try to get the food from there because you are hungry. And you are seeing that the food is there, but will that effort ever satisfy your hunger? No. So that is the situation, that is our situation in the material nature. We are simply looking at the reflection and we are trying to satisfy our hunger through the reflection. Will it ever be satisfied? No. But devotional service makes us turn our face from there and look at where the real food is. The understanding is, since it is there in the reflection, it must be there in reality. But in reality it is not there. In reality it is somewhere else. So we have to turn our face towards that direction, where the food actually is. That is the meaning of seeing things from the right perspective. Then you can go there and eat as much as you want. So that is what? Devotional service. And then what happens? Udashinam. He becomes indifferent. When you have seen the real food, will you be bothered about the reflection? Will you even look at it? No. Now you have the information, now you know where the real food is. So at that time what will you do? Will you even look at the food? You'll just keep on eating the food. And that is what happens to a living entity when he is situated in a proper situation through devotional service. So jnana means understanding of the reality. Vairagya means indifference towards the reflection. So that is the result of bhakti. You become engaged in devotional service, you will see the reality and you will become indifferent towards the reflection. And at that time what will happen? The illusory energy of the Lord will become hato jasha. Material nature will not influence you anymore. What was the influence of material nature? To make you feel that this is where the real food is. The reflection is where you are going to get the food. Through the three modes of material nature, the material nature is simply entangling us to the illusory energy of the Lord. We are, as I mentioned the other day, through the mode of passion, we become active in the material nature, and then we become tired and we fall asleep in the mode of ignorance. Then in the morning you get up again and start to make endeavor to get the food out of the reflection. That is the material nature. Passion causes us to get involved. Ignorance makes us fall asleep, become unconscious. The mode of goodness makes you stand aside and think, well, actually, I'm seeing after so much endeavor, I'm not getting the food. So let me not get involved and let me stop and think and find out what is actually the matter. That is the mode of goodness. So you see, cessation of materialistic activities with a desire to get the real information. But then to turn towards the real food is Suddha Sattva. Goodness of the mode of goodness in the material nature is not Suddha. That is Mishra. It's not pure goodness. There is some tinge of passion and ignorance. But that is desisting us, preventing us from being involved in the mundane activities. But still it is not giving us the real information. The real information will come when we look towards the spiritual reality, when we perceive the spiritual reality. Then we become situated. Like when you see the food, what do? Do you stand there and start to intellectualize it? Huh? No. When you see the real food, now that you are hungry, you just rush to the food and start eating. And that is the spiritual activity. When you become engaged in the spiritual activities, then our heart becomes filled with satisfaction. Evam prasanna manaso. Our heart becomes fully satisfied. And our heart experiences the joy of being involved in the activity of the spiritual sky, which is the loving exchange with Krishna. So the process is so scientific. This process of Krishna consciousness, that's why Prabhupada used to use the expression that Krishna consciousness is not a matter of faith. Krishna consciousness is a science. The science of self-realization. Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. Krishna himself is using that expression. Jnana and Vijnana. Real knowledge and realization of that knowledge. It will happen. Follow the process, practice the process, the realization will come. You may not be a pure devotee today, but yes, in course of time you will become a pure devotee. Just practice the process. Although pure devotional service used to be kept as a secret. That's why generally the scriptures are not talking about pure devotional service. So clearly, it's kind of presented in an indirect way. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this pure devotional service available so easily. Like in the scriptures, we see that pure devotional service hasn't been spoken that clearly. Like Ramayana and Mahabharata, we see that they are not talking about pure devotional service. They are actually talking about the goal of life as the elevation to the heavenly planets. The sages are performing such severe austerities to go to the heavenly planets. No indication of pure devotional service. But it's only through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the pure devotional service has been available. Even the four sampradayas generally did not give what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. The other four sampradayas, including even Madhva Sampradaya, which sampradaya we belong to in a way, Brahma Sampradaya, that sampradaya also is talking about elevation to Vaikuntha. It's only Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who actually gave us the process for elevation to Vrindavan. Although Srimad Bhagavatam so elaborately describes about Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, and clearly mentions also many a time that Vrindavan is the highest region of the spiritual sky. But the understanding was not clear until Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave us that understanding. That's why we need an acharya. That's why we need a bona fide spiritual master. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't come, the secret of Vrindavan would have remained a hidden mystery to everybody. যদি গৌর না হইত তবে কি হইত কেমনে ধরিতাম। Although Brahma Samhita described that, but still understanding was not there. It's only through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that it has become revealed. And what is the mystery of Vrindavan? Madhura Vrinda Bipino Madhuri Probesho Chaturisha. It is not easy to enter to Vrindavan. And what is why Vrindavan is such a mystery, kept as a secret? Borojo Juboti Bhavero Bhaputi Shakuti. Who could ever understand the depth of the loving exchange of the Brajabadhus, the cowherd damsels? So this is why Bhagavatam has got a very, very special dimension due to Sri Chaitanya. And for us, it is due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy that it has been available. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, but if Prabhupada did not bring it out the way he did through ISKCON, we couldn't have received this mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when we read Srimad Bhagavatam in the light of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings and Srila Prabhupada's teaching, then the Bhagavatams become a statement. Srimad Bhagavatam becomes a statement. Hare Krishna, Gaur Premanande, Hare. Does anybody have any question? Yes.
In the society, many times, even I will think, super intelligent persons, which you can call them genius, and they predominantly lives in mode of goodness, and they don't care much about this passion, mode of passion, and at the same time, why their intelligence do not, intelligence doesn't turn them towards Krishna?
Because they didn't receive the mercy of a pure devotee. Devotional service is a product of the mercy of a devotee. Without the mercy of a devotee, even what to speak of these intellectuals, even the demigods do not have access to it. Even all these sages do not have access to it. So it is, what to speak of the sages, even the residents of Vaikuntha don't have access to it. It is only by the mercy of a pure devotee who knows about the secret of Vrindavan, the mystery of Vrindavan, the glory of Vrindavan. One cannot have access to Vrindavan. I mean, just to get into that point. And even devotional service, like Vaidhi Bhakti, or that lead to Vaikuntha, cannot be achieved without the mercy of a devotee. It's only through the mercy of a devotee that one can receive devotional service to them.
The reason why the influence of pure nature is never completely eradicated.
Okay, yeah. That is because, you see, like Prabhupada is pointing, Sukadeva Goswami is Kapil Dev is pointing out the devotional service in the practicing stage. So in this practicing stage, it is reduced, but not completely eradicated. But in the pure stage, it is eradicated. Like say, for example, you are seeing the reflection, but you haven't completely seen the food on the table. Therefore, the influence of, sometimes you may look at it, that maybe there is some hope of getting some food there and satisfying your hunger. But when you completely see and start eating it, then the influence of the material nature, or the possibility of turning towards that reflection is still there. Yes, Antirupa?
Maharaj, you were saying that even the sages or the residents of Vaikuntha do not have access. But
Well, see, the sages are in devotional service, but generally they are in Shantarash. They are not in active devotional service. Those who are many out of the sages, many of them are Brahmavadis. Okay, before that, many of them are trying to be elevated to heavenly planets. Right? Some others are interested in Brahma Sajujya. Some others are aware of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But their activity is to meditate upon Krishna and see Him in the core of their heart. And the residents of Vaikuntha, they are engaged in devotional service to Krishna, but they are serving Krishna in the mellow of awe and reverence, Shanta and Dasya. So they cannot also from Vaikuntha have access to Vrindavan. They are so absorbed with Narayan. They are happy. They are happily engaged in serving Narayan. And there, in Vaikuntha, the information of Vrindavan is not there. Like, it is there, but there, whatever, like in Bhagavatam, those who used to read Srimad Bhagavatam before, they used to think that this Krishna is an incarnation of Kshirodakshay Vishnu. They didn't have, like, although they read Bhagavatam, but they didn't understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an incarnation. Right? Their understanding was that these activities of Krishna is, when he came to the earth planet as an incarnation, he performed these activities. It was limited to that. But as I said, like, if somehow they get to know, even if the residents of Vaikuntha, if they get to know that there is a region which is beyond Vaikuntha, then only they can aspire for Vrindavan, which is beyond Vaikuntha. Right? Another thing is, another consideration is, that's why Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes are kept as a secret, even from the Vaikuntha Vasis. Only one or two rare individuals may get an opportunity by the mercy of the devotee. But even if then they do, from Vaikuntha they cannot go to Vrindavan. If they have to go to Vrindavan, then they have to come back to the earth planet. And they have to perform Sankirtan in the earth planet or in Vrindavan. And then only they will become qualified to go to Golok Vrindavan. So that is how rare it is. Brahmara Durlabha Prem, Shiva Virinchitam. So that's why Brahmara Durlabha Prem is this rare even from Brahma, this rare even from Lord Shiva. It's rare even from Vaikuntha Vasis, it's rare even for Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi had to perform great austerity. You see, Lakshmi Devi wanted to go to Krishna's Braja Leela. Then Krishna said, okay, then you have to take shelter of one of the residents of Vrindavan, one of the gopis of Vrindavan. Lakshmi said, how is it possible? I am Lakshmi. I can't bow down to anyone else. Then Krishna said, then you won't be able to go. I'm sorry, Narayan said, then you won't be able to go to Vrindavan. Because the only way to go to Vrindavan is by taking shelter of one of the residents of Vrindavan. So then Lakshmi Devi performed great austerities. And as a result of that, Krishna came to her and asked, what happened, Lakshmi? And Lakshmi told him. So then Krishna carried Lakshmi in his chest as Srivatsi. And that is how Lakshmi had entrance to Vrindavan. So that is how rare Vrindavan is, and that's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributing without any discrimination. And that's what Srila Prabhupada distributed all over the world. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, Sarana.
Dibbagan Lide Prakashita, but sometimes we're trying to keep in the brain, memorizing verses, what are the brain, writing in the diaries, but we are not interested to keep with the heart.
Yeah. So, you see, Siddhi or perfection requires sadhana. So, Shuddha Bhakti and Sadhana Bhakti, Prema Bhakti and Sadhana Bhakti. So, we need to do the sadhana, we need to do the practice. Like, say for example, when you are learning how to swim, you have these inflated rubber bags on your arms, right? Just to learn how to swim. But it is not that because of this arm, so when you learn to swim, then you don't need it. Right? So perfection is something like naturally developed an inherent ability to do something. The jiva has the bhakti inherent in his heart. But in order to awaken that, there is a need for practice. And this is a practice, like memorizing verses, taking notes, attending Bhagavatam classes, and so forth. But when one becomes perfect, then the perfection will not come because of the practice. The perfection will come because it's already there. One learns to swim because he has the ability to swim. It is not that he is swimming because of the rubber tubes on his that keeps him afloat. When he learns to swim, he keeps himself afloat. Or when one learns to walk, like you don't need any other support. You automatically will start to walk. Yes, Jamuna Priya.
During writing the class, you mentioned that performing devotional service makes us look in the right direction. Because the other day, one devotee was asking me that they had lost all the enthusiasm in devotional service, and they were quite concerned as to why that is. Maharaj, could you kindly answer that question?
No, I didn't get the question.
Maharaj, you were saying in the class that performing devotional service makes us look towards Krishna in the right direction. So the other day, Maharaj, one devotee was asking me, they were just sharing their anxiety that they have lost their taste for devotional service, their enthusiasm. So Maharaj, they were asking why is that? So could you kindly answer that question?
Because he's still looking at the reflection. And the point is, like, let's try to understand this point through this example. One is hungry. He comes into a room, and in the one wall of the room is just mirror. Right? So and in that mirror, he sees all kinds of delicious food, right? Placed on beautiful plates and bowls. Now what he'll do? What will be his natural reaction? Try to grab it. But will he ever be able to grab it? Will he ever be able to satisfy his hunger? Now he is trying and trying and trying. Life after life, that's what we are trying to do. Our souls are hungry, and we are trying to satisfy our hunger. Our soul is hungry of what? What is soul's hunger for? Ananda, joy. And we are trying for so many years, so many lifetimes, we are trying to enjoy. And we see that we don't get that. We keep on trying and trying and trying. Then somebody comes and says that, look, this is a reflection. The real food is somewhere else. So you try to turn your face and go there. The food is not here, the food is there. But because of his habit for so many lifetimes, it's difficult for him to turn away from that. Now he is in a sort of a limbo, right? He is neither here nor there. He is trying not to be entangled in this effort. He is not trying not to get involved in trying to get the food from the reflection. At the same time, he is not able to properly turn his face away from there and look towards the right direction. And that is the point when living entity or practicing devotee feels the frustration. That I am trying, but it's not happening. The point is you're not trying hard enough. You're still, your mind, your consciousness is still entangled here. You're still trying to enjoy. Although you got the information, that this is a reflection and the reaction, the substance is somewhere else, but still you are entangled with this reflection. So that is the problem. And that is the state of sadhana bhakti. You are practicing to turn your face away. You are trying to get the taste of real substance. But you haven't become adept as yet.
Can I ask a further?
Sure.
So when they're performing devotional service, but they may have ulterior motives behind the devotional service, like for name, fame, adoration, etc. Then Raj, how does that, I'm trying to relate that to the...
So that is not pure devotional service, it's mixed devotional service. You're rendering devotional service, but through devotional service you are trying to have name and fame. So that is material, mixed with karma. Karma mishra bhakti, dhanam janam sundari. Distinction, adoration and profit. Yeah, go ahead.
Could you explain what is their fate? Because they are...
What is there?
What is their destination, i.e. how... because devotional service purifies the heart, one sees their anarthas and they try and work on them. But if due to, in my little understanding, if they have conditioning such that they are unable to, like you said, that somebody is telling them, but they're still carrying on.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what is their...
Yeah, take the medicine properly. Right? Like you have a disease and the medicine is there. Now it's not that as soon as the doctor prescribes the medicine, you become cured. Right? You keep taking the medicine. It may take a few days, it may take some time. So that is the point of practicing stage of devotion. Sadhana bhakti. Keep on practicing. It will happen. If the medicine is genuine and if you are following the prescription properly, then yes, you will get cured. It may take a few days, don't worry. But the trouble is that when someone gives up the practice of devotion properly, then the trouble starts.
So there is a danger there that might happen?
That's why we see so many devotees come and go. They come, but then go away. That is because they didn't understand the importance and they didn't understand the efficacy of the application of this medicine. All right? Yes.
Once somebody, some devotee, is purely indifferent towards all material allurements, so is he situated in more pure goodness? If it is not attracting him at all in all circumstances.
That's what that point that Vimal Krishna asked, that somebody, it was on the bridge, that somebody may be intellectually very advanced and it seems that he is very detached and so forth. Does it mean that he is situated in the pure devotion? Or he, like, just detachment from matter is not the symptom of devotion. The symptom of devotion is involvement in service to Krishna. And so many people are intellectually so advanced, so many people are, as you said, like detached from material attachment. But detached from material attachment is not the goal of life.
Not about the intellectuals, Maharaj, those who are devotees, and in all situations they find it, they feel it. That's their realization. That allurements no more. So may he think that he is
No, the allurements will automatically, unless one is situated in pure devotional platform, allurements will always be there. Only through pure devotional service one can avoid the allurements. Like if you don't have real food, you will become attracted to the reflection of the food.
He is rendering his service.
Don't worry about he, just bother about yourself.
Yes, Maharaj, I do feel like that. And secondly,
what do you feel?
I feel that everything, any circumstances, I don't feel myself at least deviating from my devotional practice or the path of devotional service.
Then you are a pure devotee. So that it's only through pure devotional service that you can be totally detached from matter. That's the point.
And another thing, do we get the blessings of the acharyas once we go deeply into their...
That you'll feel yourself. This is not a theory that can prove that I can say that you. Just keep on practicing the process and see what's happening. If the Acharya's mercy comes, you will see it yourself. It is not something that I can tell you. It is not a matter of theory. It's a matter of practice. So if you got the blessings, very good. Very good. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande.